And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Thursday, May 9th, 2024. If you like additional weather information on top of what I provide in this YouTube video, go to weather.gov. It'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S. and Hawaii and Alaska are to the lower left with tabs for the territories. You point and click anywhere on this map. It'll pull up a very localized forecast with any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories. Quick check of the map. This Thursday afternoon, we have severe weather across southern areas of the country from Alabama and Mississippi back into Texas. And we have had another round of severe weather, including tornado and severe thunderstorm watches. To the north, we have frost advisories and freeze warnings for areas of the northwestern Great Lakes. Here in Alaska, we are in the midst of the river breakup season, and it's the lower Kuskokwim River that has been the trouble spot. We have flood warnings that continue for Kwethluk and Bethel, where these communities have experienced minor to moderate flooding as some high water levels and ice are working their way through that portion of the Kuskokwim River. Downstream, flood advisories are in effect for Napaskiak and Oscarville, and water levels in these areas will likely be rising through the next couple of days as that higher water and ice that's up to the north there at Kwethluk and Bethel work their way downriver. So flood watches will continue across the lower Kuskokwim River into this weekend. The upper Yukon in the vicinity of Circle still has an area of ice above the Circle about 10 miles upstream that has to work its way down through the upper Yukon system. So flooding will remain possible there. But again, by far the most active flooding there is on the lower Kuskokwim River. Heavy precipitation and wind impacting the southeast panhandle, northeastern Gulf Coast today. Anchorage area, now second snowiest winter on record, thanks to that snow I was talking about that arrived in the mid-evening. We saw rain mix with and change to snow and then accumulate through the early overnight hours. Fort Yukon this afternoon, looking at the upper part of the Yukon River, Porcupine River is partly sunny, 57 degrees, a few cumulus buildups. Kwethluk, you can see some of the water from the flooding there from the Yukon getting up around areas near the airport there, mostly sunny, 37 though rather cool conditions. Anchorage, some light rain showers on the west side of town as of mid-afternoon, but snow showers up toward the eastern hills. So Anchorage itself, the Ted Stevens Airport picked up 0.7 of an inch of snowfall yesterday evening and just past midnight. The hillside, upper hillside, received 2 to 4 inches of snowfall. And so we still could see some additional snowfall, especially on the east side of Anchorage and into the upper hillside as we go through tonight. Skagway, rain, wind, and fog, a good 1 to 2 inches of rain falling there in the northern panhandle at observation sites near sea level with winds gusting as high as 35 to 50 miles an hour. And as you get up in elevation, snow levels from this morning rose from 3,000 to 6,000 feet with heavy snow there pounding the coastal mountains here along the panhandle, northern panhandle up into the southern Yukon. So this area remains just a special weather statement to add, the adverse weather there. Some snow potential still remains in places like Turnagain Pass, higher elevations around Girdwood and Cordova. Even Anchorage, again, especially hillside, could pick up some additional light accumulations here tonight. And then across, we have the flood watches that are still in effect. We'll move on to that. So here's the image of today. Kuskokwim flooding. The Paskiak River Watch image from today shows the flood waters along the Kuskokwim getting up into homes and some businesses. And would not be surprised if that is upgraded from an advisory to a warning, because we still have some higher water and ice further upstream working its way down through Kwethluk and Bethel. And looking at the map to show where the highlights are, again, the lower Kuskokwim remains under a flood watch, and we have the warnings and advisories in effect from Kwethluk downstream. Up here around the Yukon River, still a flood watch at Circle because of that area of ice working its way downstream about 10 miles above Circle. So until that can get through Circle, there still remains the potential for flooding. And then yesterday I mentioned that the flood watch and advisories for the Copper River Basin were canceled. So good news there. Things are flowing along within the Copper River system, though water levels will remain high there still from the remaining snow melt. But no major flooding impacts expected there in the Copper River Basin. So here we go, Anchorage, Ted Stevens International Airport. Records going back to the early 1950s. This winter, 2023-24, is now the second snowiest on record at 133.3 inches, thanks to that 0.7 of an inch of snow that was measured late last night. And just 1.2 inches of snow is needed to tie the all-time record, 1.3 to break it. We'll see if that happens. I think really the only shot of that possibly happening would be later tonight, and that's not a guarantee, but that would be it as far as the setup, because we do have another little system coming on through, and Lionel, the wonder dog, loves the snow. He's had a couple of great winters to enjoy it. Looking also at the sky, though, we are past the aurora viewing season in much of Alaska because of simply the twilight is just too bright now in the overnight hours, but there is a number of strong coronal mass ejections that are going to be arriving later tomorrow on May 10th into tomorrow night, May 11th, that could trigger a strong G4 geomagnetic storm. So if you're flying to the lower 48 and you're going to be doing a red-eye flight, you may want to get that window seat that faces north on the left side of the plane, depending which way you're coming or going. But anyways, there'll likely be some notable auroras erupting here in the next couple of days. Also, mostly of interest if you're a ham radio operator, there could be radio communication interruptions because of this geomagnetic storm that's anticipated here coming up shortly. But looking at what we have for a moisture flow, look at this plume of moisture just coming in off the North Pacific right up into the Panhandle and up into the Yukon and around Yakutat. As I mentioned, heavy snows in the coastal mountains above 5,000–6,000 feet. Heavier rainfall along the normal sea level sites with winds gusting 35 to 50 miles an hour. Here's that little cold core low feature that's going to be drifting northeastward tonight. The bulk of the precipitation and moisture with this will stay along the Western Gulf, Eastern Kenai, Prince William Sound, but there's some instability that's going to come through very late tonight, and that could be the little sneaker that gets the west side of Anchorage enough to bump up the Ted Stevens snowfall total. So we'll see if this happens, because there is a band of cloudiness that could be enhanced as it works its way northward. And then here we have the other low that's coming across the Aleutians right now with the front arcing ahead of it. That's a pretty good system that'll work its way northeastward up into the Western Gulf by later Friday and into early Saturday. So on the weather map today, we've had one low come north. It's energy shifting northward, frontal system pushing into the Panhandle, a ridge out here from the southern Panhandle down through Haida Gwaii and just off the continental U.S. Pacific Northwest coast. Here's that little feature working its way northeastward up along the Western Gulf that could bring some enhanced snow here along areas of south central yet tonight. And then there's the low out in the Aleutians, and that will continue to work its way eastward on late tonight into early on Friday morning. And then that feature will start to wash out, push northeastward. That polar low will have washed out. And then the other low that was sitting here when the energy that came north out of the Gulf today will be working its way eastward across northwest Canada with just a weak lingering area of low pressure along the northwest Arctic coast around Wainwright. And on Friday, we'll find ridge of high pressure nudging up into the Panhandle, allowing for a little better weather and things to start to dry out, especially southern and western areas of the Panhandle, say around Klawak, Ketchikan, and Craig, and then areas here to the west bring some wind and rain up into the Western Gulf, and scattered showers, rain and snow showers along areas of the interior along this trough, plus the remnant moisture that's pushed northward and inland. And for Saturday, this system that comes into the Western Gulf is not going to strengthen. It'll be weaker, but it's looking like at least more of a drier day expected Saturday in the Panhandle before some more showers move in maybe by Sunday. And still some lingering scattered rain and snow showers across areas of the interior along this lingering trough and just remnant moisture that's been pushed in by these systems coming up out of the North Pacific, either across the lower Bering or into the Gulf. And we have another low that'll be just south of the central Aleutians on Saturday. So temperatures tonight will be above freezing, lower mid-40s, warmest there in the southern panhandle. Areas of the Copper River Basin, Talkeetna could get down a bit below freezing. Anchorage area hover near or just above freezing, but again, the potential still exists for a little bit of snow to work its way northeastward here late tonight as a result of that feature coming in from the southwest, that remnants of that little polar low. And then temperatures Friday stay cool. South Central only in the 40s for highs at best. 50s, especially in through the central southern panhandle. Lows on Saturday morning, mid-30s to low 40s in the panhandle. And we expect some readings still back down around freezing or a little below that, Copper River Basin on over to Talkeetna. And then temperatures on Saturday maybe back up near 50 in Anchorage and other places. We're looking at readings in the 50s, warmest in the southern panhandle. So, you know, better than it has been, especially with this latest round of weather that came through. You can see temperatures stay a bit above freezing here. Yukon Flats, Fairbanks. Coolest readings, Arctic coast down through the north side of the Seward Peninsula, upper teens to around 20 degrees. High temperatures Friday afternoon could hit 57, 58 around Fort Yukon, 56 at Eagle. The typical warmer spots here in the east central interior. Maybe some temperatures trying to approach freezing along the Arctic coast at a couple spots. Generally around Norton Sound. We're still on the cool side, 35 there at Nome. And then temperatures again stopping at or just below freezing along the Yukon River, but within Fairbanks, Yukon Flats, you can see temperatures ending up just a couple degrees above freezing. And then we should start to see some 50s become a little more widespread with an isolated 60-degree reading, not impossible there around Eagle or back toward Fort Yukon. Temperatures maybe up to 34 at Kaktovik, 36 over at Nome, still below freezing though along the northwest coast down toward St. Lawrence Island. For the southwest interior, chilly. Temperatures dipping down into the 20s, areas along the Aleutian chain at or mid-30s or so. And then for Friday afternoon, warmest temperatures southwest interior, upper Yukon around McGrath, but cool still, some 40s, Bethel 46 for a high. Low mid-40s for highs along the Alaska Peninsula and into the eastern Aleutians. Saturday morning, low temperatures will bump upwards a bit near freezing in spots or a little warmer than as you creep up the Yukon and Kuskokwim rivers. And then down here along the Alaska Peninsula, mid-upper 30s. And temperatures Saturday afternoon should be a little better, at least maybe back up to around 50 or so, nearing 50 there. From areas like Bethel toward Anvik, and certainly in the 50s the further north you go. So looking here at the temperature outlook, just getting past mid-month, so May 15th through the 19th. Temperatures are expected to average below normal over southern areas of the state, including Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, Kenai Peninsula, areas surrounding the Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound into the Panhandle, especially along south of the Alaska Range with near normal temperatures, Brooks Range, Arctic coast, and the North Slope. And precipitation still in this kind of pattern. We're going to have weather systems coming up occasionally here in these trajectories, so that's going to make areas of the southeast average above a bit above normal, and with some moisture pushing in inland. We could see some areas along and north of the Alaska Range into the east central interior average a little above normal in precipitation just after we get past mid-April or mid-May.